Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Thank you for joining us, Dominic. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ariel. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's been a while since we've had you on the show, and I've been trying to get you on for a while, and I feel like this is a good time. We are essentially exactly, if this was a 31-day month, four months removed from your last fight against Cody Garbrandt, from when you dropped the title. What is life like without the belt? You've had experience with this, and you've spoken very eloquently about not being champion, but it had been a while since you actually suffered a defeat in your sporting life. What's it been like?
Yeah, yeah. It's like if you think about it, it comes down to losing is part of this game, and you gotta eat it and just move forward. One of my favorite quotes is, "For success, like happiness, cannot be pursued; it must ensue," and that's by Viktor Frankl. And I like that quote just because you can't count on one thing to be happy. It's a constant thing. Win, lose, or draw, everything comes into the same circle, depending on how you view it. And so I'm happy either way. It was a learning experience. It wasn't fun to lose. Losing sucks. I'm a prideful individual that hates losing like anybody else. At the next level, I would even say I hate losing. But depending on how you view it, depending on how you wrap it up, it can also be a gift, and it can be something that you can be happy about in the end if you focus right and you key on the real things that need to be keyed in on.
The experience that you had with the knee injuries and the time off, do you think that prepared you for the loss? In other words, had you not gone through that and still remained undefeated for all those years and then suffered your first loss in 10 years, do you think you would have took it even harder?
Well, I don't know. I've always been a pretty fair sport. I just haven't lost in 10 years, so nobody got to see it. The last time I lost was to Uriah Faber, and I wasn't the nicest about that because he's a prick, and he runs his mouth and told a bunch of lies about me, and so I was after him from then on. But now, at this point, I've had, plenty of opportunities to get my own life out there, my own personality, my own mindset, and I think people have a better understanding of what's going on in my life and who I am. And I've said it a million times, a loss doesn't define me, a win doesn't define me. It's just how I live every single day, trying to move forward. So it is what it is. I think that the irony in the matter is that my knee injuries, while they prepared me for life outside of in the loss column, like it kind of helped me understand the things I can't control and all that. All the things I learned from my knee surgeries, I think are possibly some of the reason why I also lost. So that's the irony in the matter. It's, I didn't kick for 3 years. I didn't have all my tools in that fight that I think I've shown in a lot of my fights prior to the knee surgeries. And so that's what's been focused on since the fight is just, getting my old habits to be habits again, instead of coming off a 3-year layoff, few ACL injuries, and then making do with what my body gave me at that point. And thank God I was able to win a world title under those stipulations after the layoff, not kicking in 3 years, not wrestling in 3 years, being out of shape, all that stuff. And again, this is no excuse. This is just the path I had to take. So I think that the things I learned through the knee surgeries are also some of the reasons why I wasn't quite as fluent as I could have been on that night with my kicks. And I think that made a big deciding factor in the outcome of that fight as well.
If the Dominick Cruz who fought Demetrious Johnson in 2011 was 100% healthy, let's just pretend you're 100% healthy, you don't go through the knee injuries at that point, what are you at against Cody Garbrandt? Like, do you feel like you're at 80%, that you'll never get back to where you were?
No, I think I'll get back there. I think that the problem was not that I can't be or won't be back to where I've ever been. In fact, I think in a lot of ways I'm better than I was against Demetrious. It's just certain weapons you can't utilize with certain injuries. So you transfer your exercises to different portions of your body and different techniques and different martial arts. You focus on different martial arts depending on what's injured on your body. If my hands are broken, then I'm going to throw 1,000 kicks a day. If my ankle hurts, then I'm going to throw 1,000,000 punches a day. It goes back and forth. And with my knees the way they were, I was not able to throw kicks. And so it just changed my game a little. But it didn't make it worse. And it's not that I'm worse than I was then. It's just that I had to fight a little bit different. Now it's just a matter of getting those habits back. Like I said, they're there. I know how to use them. It's just a matter of getting my body to react instead of think.
Are you ready to start training for another fight, or do you want to take some more time off?
No, I've been training. I don't really stop. I just had to give my body a little rest from the beatdown of martial arts for a couple of months. I fought those 3 fights last year. That's 3 title fights against some of the best guys in the world, back to back. After, the layoff I had, that was a good year for me. I put a lot of work in. And so I took a little bit of time, 3-4 months I've taken to just heal. I've been training. I shot stem cells into both of my feet. I shot stem cells into my shoulders just to make sure everything I take a second and I marinate and heal, marinate and rest and just, let my body get 100%. And then I'd like to come back and fight for the title. That's my goal. There was nothing that was just complete. I wasn't completely out of that fight. Come that 5th round, I was still in the fight. I was in the fight the entire time. So I definitely want to get another shot at that. And that's what I'm looking for and focused on more than anything is fighting the winner of TJ Dillashaw, Cody Garbrandt. That's what I want.
Okay.
I think that's what the fans want.
So the plan is wait for that fight to play out July 8th, and then probably, if everything goes well, you would only return in around December, January, just given how these things play out, right?
Yeah, if you really look at the big picture, I fought 3 times in 1 year. When I fought Cody fought 30 seconds against Mizugaki, which is a guy knocked out in a minute before he knocked him out. So this is a game of inches, and every single fight you have, every single camp you put in is something your body sees and feels. I put in twice the work that Cody did in that year, and that's in camps, and that's in fights, and that's in media, and that's in everything in the sport. So now he's doing it. Now he's got the title, and now he's doing the media, and now he's fighting TJ Dillashaw. He's got the workload, and he's got the responsibility of defending that belt against the best in the world. And I'm right here knocking on the door, just like he was knocking on the door, just like TJ was knocking at the door, just like Faber was knocking at the door. I'm right here knocking on the door, and I'm not giving that dude any space. I'm not going anywhere.
Is the UFC on board with this? In other words, have they asked you, okay, what do you want to do? You've told them you want to fight for the belt, you want to fight the winner, and they're down?
Well, I told Sean Shelby what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Sean Shelby is like, well, I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily, he doesn't know. He's saying he doesn't know. I'm saying this is the fight that needs to happen at 135 pounds. There's 3 people in this division that people know, and it's me, TJ, and Cody. And the reason why you know us 3 is because I've been fighting these 2 people, and I've been talking about them, and I've been building them on Fox and giving them, a lot of shine, and I've also been, bashing on them too. But the mixture of the entire thing has built the 3 of us, and I think that between the 3 of us, we could probably fight for 10 years and always have a good fight. But realistically, that's the fight that makes sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me to go down in the division. I'm the number 1 contender now, and to fight backwards in the division after the amount of title defenses I've had in the past doesn't even resonate or make sense to me. I'm here to fight the best in the world, to fight for the title, and I think that I've earned that position. And if I got completely, to where I wasn't even in that fight, I could understand, but I was in that fight from beginning to end. And in that 5th round, I'd even say that I won. So there's still a case for me in this matchup with Cody or TJ, either one of them.
There were some points in the fight where, I guess for lack of a better word, he was kind of mocking you. He was kind of playing around a little bit, and his confidence was growing. Right. What do you make of that? Is that all fair in love and fighting, or do you think about that a lot? Is that motivation for the rematch against Cody? How did you digest that?
You got to understand that it's all in how you look at it. That to him is entertaining to the people. That to him is entertainment, which is that's his prerogative. That's the type of person that he chooses to represent himself as. That's fine. That's his choice. Me personally, rather than mock in and during the fight, I do it before, after, the 8 weeks before we fight, because in that octagon, instead of mocking, I'd rather try to do work to get the person out of the octagon, to try to get him out of there and finish him. So, I mean, he had opportunities where he had me hurt, and maybe if he wasn't trying to fool around and joke around, maybe he could have done better with me and gotten me out of there. I don't know. But the bottom line is that mocking didn't get him the finish. That mocking got him the win, but that wasn't even what it was. That was just him trying to show how tough he is. And that's fine. Like, it can't affect you, you know. That type of stuff can't affect you. You watched Anderson Silva do it for how many fights until finally Chris Weidman shut him down.
Right.
So you can only do that for so long before it just gets annoying to the fans, annoying to the athletes. And it doesn't show, to me personally, that's not a championship mentality. But he has the belt, so he can represent himself as a champion however he chooses to, and I have nothing to say about that. That's his choice.
Who do you think wins between TJ and Cody, and who do you want to win?
I think Cody wins because I think that what's happening with that whole situation, being involved on Tough Talk and seeing what's going on, talking to Ludwig, talking to Dillashaw, talking to Cody, talking to certain people as I move through the sport and do this analyst gigs, I think this beef really is Faber's beef. I mean, and I think Cody will pretty much listen to Faber. If Faber told him to jump off a bridge head first, he would do it. So he's fighting Faber's fight for him, plus TJ's up for the belt. So it makes it easier for Cody to just say, F you, TJ, plus my favorite mentor, coach, dad, uncle, whatever you want to call him, hates you too, so I really hate you. But I think really that the whole problem stems from Faber being upset because Ludwig was teaching good stuff and it was taking some of the shine from Faber in Faber's own camp. And so they had a separation that caused problems with TJ. And realistically, in my opinion, if Faber was, you know, cared about TJ as much as he said he did, then he would have let him leave and do what he needed to do to better his career as a friend and a coach. Eric has told me several times, if I ever need to leave our camp at Alliance and go anywhere, it wouldn't matter. He would still manage me. He would still be my friend. He wants to see me do best wherever I think I need to go to be the best in the world. And Faber would never, my coach, Eric Del Fierro, would never disown me. We would never have a problem. We've had this talk. If you need to go, go. Well, Faber couldn't do that. It hurt his ego that his guy would go somewhere else and train with somebody that TJ thinks is better than Faber. And it hurt him that Ludwig was getting all the shine while he was at Faber's camp, because that's Faber's camp. So that all being said, TJ isn't just fighting Cody. He's fighting that entire camp. He's fighting Danny Castillo. He's fighting Faber. He's fighting Cody. He's fighting all his old coaches. He's fighting all his old friends and family members. I think that mental strain and the loneliness that he's feeling on that show and over this period of time is wearing on him. And I think that the mental aspects of that are what get him beat against Cody, not the technical aspects that TJ has. I think stylistically, TJ has the technique and the tools to beat a guy like Cody. He kicks fluently. He mixes his punches and kicks. I think Cody has the edge and the power in the pocket, but TJ can make up the pocket work with kicks, movement, and angles. And he's kicking a little bit more than I did against Cody, so I think that will play to his advantage. But as for the mental game, I think that the fact that TJ is facing that whole camp, not just Cody Garbrandt, I think that's really wearing on TJ. I think it's going to keep wearing on him. I think the mental is what gets him beat against Cody.
And is it fair to say, considering Cody has the win over you, that you're kind of hoping he wins so you get that rematch? Yeah,
realistically, me and TJ's fight was very competitive. It was a good fight. I won it fair and square, in my opinion, but I could fight him again and be happy with that. But I lost to Cody. Of course, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to fight him immediately as soon as possible and get that loss back. I couldn't go right back into the octagon immediately because I needed to heal my feet a little bit. I mean, anybody who's had this thing that I have, plantar fasciitis tendonitis, will tell you it ruins careers. It ruins runners' careers. It ruins, football players' careers, soccer, basketball, tons of sports. And I had to sit out, let my feet completely rest for a little while, and try to get them back to 100%. And, they're feeling better than they have in an entire year. So I'm pretty optimistic about this upcoming fight that I'm getting ready for next, whoever it is.
I'll never forget that post-fight press conference when you showed up and you stood up the whole time, and you again, to me, like I go to a lot of birthday parties with my kids, and people ask me what I do for a living, and usually they're like, you cover cage fighting? What is up with that? And I've told parents time and again over the last 4 months, Google this. Google Dominick Cruz post-fight press conference, UFC 207, and you'll see how great these individuals are, what kind of professionals they can be. I mean, that to me is something that I can play for my kids when they lose a soccer match. Like, you just put out the blueprint, how to deal with a tough situation. And I was more impressed with you that night in that moment than anything that you have done in victory as far as your MMA fighting career is concerned. And it was fascinating to see the juxtaposition of you losing, showing up, and Ronda losing and not showing up. How difficult was it for you to do that? And does it bother you when other fighters who suffer some kind of tough defeat don't come and at least address it?
This is me, Ariel, and this is why I am the way that I am. It's a proven scientific fact that unless you get to be yourself, act like yourself, say what you want, you have anxiety, you have stress, you have depression, you have all these things that are just driving you crazy every day because you're holding yourself back. After that loss, to be honest, it was something I looked forward to doing, was standing in front of everybody and letting that out. And the reason is I don't have to answer any more questions. Everything I needed to say about myself, that fight, losing, winning, just being me, was said at that press conference, and it needed to be said. So I didn't have to sit on it and marinate in it and think about it and let it eat me away. I had to say that stuff. Everything I said was from my heart and from my mind, and I don't hold anything back. I just said it. So I think that's why it worked, is because I meant it and I wanted to say those things because that is the way it's supposed to be. I think that we see so many people fight loss, fight when things don't go the way that the world perceives they're supposed to go. They fight it and they don't flow with it. And then you're not learning from it. And the whole loss becomes a curse instead of, you never really could see a loss as a blessing unless you choose to wrap it up as a blessing, and you have to learn from it, because what else can I really do with it? Just sit and be sorry and sad about it, and then it does nothing for me. I might as well make the best of it, and that's all I can do. Those are my two choices: make the best of it or let it ruin me. And I choose to not let it stop me. I got to keep going forward. I got to keep moving, and that's what that was about. It wasn't anything other than that, and expressing myself. And I'm glad that it could come off to in a way that people could understand. I mean, that's just, I always ask God to speak through me when I go speak, and whether you believe in God or not, it can be your higher power, but he's my higher power, and it keeps my mind sorted out sometimes.
And then you had a soccer player for Arsenal, Hector Bellerin. I'm probably butchering his name, but he's even tweeting out the video a couple days later after his team suffers a tough draw in one of their matches. You're being used as this inspiration in defeat. Does that kind of blow your mind that people, like, I feel like if someone says to me, tell me about Dominick Cruz, first things first, I'll mention, the knee injuries and the fact that you were able to come back and win the belt. This is probably the second thing that comes to mind. Is that crazy? Is that fair to you and what you've done in your fighting career? Because this to me was so damn impressive what you did up there. Took so much courage.
What's crazy to me is that the 6 world titles that I owned in 10 years' time and never lost doesn't even get brought up ever by anybody. It's always, you had knees, you're blown out. You've had a lot of injuries you've gone through. Thank you for being an example of that for me, Dom, and the way you handled that loss. And your Joe Rogan podcast was amazing. That's all I hear about. I don't even hear about any win I ever had, any title that I, beating Faber twice, fighting TJ coming back after 3 years, beating Demetrious Johnson, beating Scott Jorgensen to become the very first UFC bantamweight champ ever. All these things, never, because it's almost like it was perceived to happen. Like people expected that to happen. Nobody expected me to be a fair loser, I guess. I don't know what people expected from me, but it's clear to me that the one thing that wasn't expected out of me was to be a fair-minded individual through loss, through being beaten, because I'd been successful for so long, and I was blessed to be successful for so long. I always said that. I never said that I deserved anything. I said that I earned it. I worked for it. Nobody deserves a thing. Everything we got can be taken from us just as fast as it's given. Nothing's ours. That belt doesn't belong to me, no matter how many times I defend it. It doesn't belong to Demetrious. It doesn't belong to Cody. That thing is up for grabs every single time we win it. Nothing we have is ours. That's all just a facade.
Amazing. Have you ever considered doing motivational speaking? Because the way your mind works, I feel like would be perfect for it.
Yeah, I've heard that from people, and it's something that, it's an avenue I think that I could possibly move into, just because the things that I've been through, I've had to motivate myself for so many years, Ariel, coming from nothing to trying to move into something. This is self-talk. These are things that I've done, mindsets that I've given to myself to try to be successful, coming from an area that thinks about a lot of negative. So this is just me being me and me sharing it with people as I move forward through the things that I've experienced, and really the opportunities to get to fight in front of so many people on the stage and test these mindsets out is what's made me who I am. So I'm fortunate to have that too.
And just a couple more things, Dom, before we let you go. You're doing the broadcasting now, and you've been doing this for a while, but now you're getting to be on the pay-per-views sometimes alongside Anik and Rogan. And again, I'm not blowing smoke up your butt. I've told you this privately. I think you do a phenomenal job. I love listening to you break things down, but it's also funny how at times it feels like you're kind of challenging Joe. Before it was sort of his sort of playpen to paint whatever kind of picture he wanted to paint as far as the broadcasting is concerned. And you've even been critical of it in the past. And at times I feel like you kind of come back and say, well, not quite. I don't really, and I love that. I love that sort of conflict. Is that something that you consciously do, or is it just coming up? And have you noticed that conflict as well?
I don't really notice the conflict because me and Joe, to me personally, and I think Joe would agree, have a good chemistry. I went on
great chemistry
and talked to them first. I talked to him a couple times, and what makes it cool working with Joe is he doesn't shut down when you do challenge. He doesn't get mad. He doesn't get offended. He doesn't say he has a problem with it after the show ends. He's perfectly okay with everything, and so am I. And I think that's why the chemistry works with him and I, because he doesn't always agree with what I say either. He's a jiu-jitsu-minded strategist when it comes to grappling. I'm a wrestling-minded strategist when it comes to grappling. And I mix the jiu-jitsu in with my wrestling. So he doesn't have the wrestling. He didn't focus on that. He focused on jiu-jitsu and the finish, and that's his focus. So it changes the understanding of grappling completely when you have two styles mixed into one compared to one style to be dominant. And jiu-jitsu is dominant in Joe Rogan's mindset. And to me, it's a mixture of wrestling and jiu-jitsu that makes jiu-jitsu favorable in these fights these days with control. So as we discuss this during the fights, it just comes off as a good discussion to me. I'm not trying to challenge him. He says certain things, and if I don't agree, I say I don't agree. I tell the world my opinion. Now, instead of just one opinion, you have two.
Yes.
So I think that's just the way I'm looking at it. I'm not looking at it like Joe's wrong and I'm right. It's more, let's let the world bite onto these two opinions instead of this one opinion, and together everybody can come up with what they think at home. Remember that the point of that job is to be bigger than yourself. Yep. Ariel. It's not about me being right or Joe being right or trying to say I'm the best. It's about putting the fighters out there, explaining what they're doing for them, explaining why they're fighting the way they're fighting, why their style makes them move this way, why they do what they do, and getting their stories out there. This is their one stage for 5 to 25 minutes. And if I'm making this about me and I'm right, then what am I really doing? And then you're not doing your job, and then you don't do as good of a job as you can. The reason why I think me and Joe work well together is because it has to be bigger than the fighter. When I speak, I'm speaking for the fighter, on the fighter's behalf. I'm speaking for all fighters and to get the style out there so people can understand. And when you make something bigger than yourself, good things happen. Passion gets behind it, and it becomes selfless and it becomes good. And I think that's why it works out.
And for the record, I'm not suggesting that you guys don't get along or that you don't complement each other. In fact, I think that you're the perfect yin to his yang, and I think it works beautifully. And I get the impression that Joe is an ego-free broadcaster, which is a rarity in broadcasting, and that's why I think it works so well. I love it. I love the dynamic. One last quick thing before I let you go. Demetrious Johnson moves up to 135 right now and is in the conversation with you, Cody, TJ. Can he hang with you guys, or is the discrepancy too big? Should he stay at 125 in your opinion?
Realistically, and I mean this because I fought him. I think that he does great against both Cody and TJ because I've seen their styles. And I think that I beat him again. I love the guy. I do. I think that he's probably one of the nicest human beings I've ever known in my entire life.
Yeah.
And I have nothing but respect for him. There's not a lot of people that I've fought that are still cool with me after I fight him.
Yeah.
But certain people are. He's one of them. We have mutual respect, me and that guy. It doesn't mean we won't fight 10 times for you people out there watching, but it does mean that there's respect there, you know? Now, other people, we don't really get along like that. Me and Cody just can't get along like that. Anytime I talk to him, he tries to challenge me, and I can't give him a second, so I got to challenge him back. Next thing you know, he's throwing a temper tantrum. So it doesn't work with guys like Cody. It only works with guys like Demetrious, who are level-headed, calm, cool, collected, see the bigger picture. And that's one thing I like about him, and that's why he's been such a dominant champion. He doesn't get emotionally overridden ever. He stays very calm, and he's always good. So I think that with all those reasons and the style that he fights, I think that he'd be too quick for both TJ and Cody. Now, do I think that they have more power and they're stronger than him? Yes. But after watching the way Demetrious fought Wilson, you can see the difference in he can change his style up according to each style that he faces and make the best win scenario for himself. And that's something I've focused on my whole career. And I think that the speed that he has and how tough he is to hit, and the fact that Cody or TJ don't really wrestle or grapple at all in their fights, I think that makes a good matchup for Demetrious. Now, real quick, TJ did grapple his last fight, right? Mm-hmm. We saw him take down Lineker and grind him out. The problem is Lineker is a stationary power-throwing target. Demetrious Johnson moves his feet, floats nonstop, never stops moving, never sits still. The takedowns won't be there the same, and he's much quicker than Lineker. So that would be the problem with those two gentlemen trying to wrestle Demetrious, whereas me, I have a different game plan when I fight that guy, and I'll never give it away.
What a treat it is to talk to you, Dominick. I really appreciate it. I know you have to go train, so we'll let you go, but thank you for squeezing us in. And great to hear everything's going well. Keep up the phenomenal work on television, and I hope that we get to see you in that title fight sooner rather than later. Thanks so much, Dom.
Me too. Make sure if you guys want to see that fight, throw the word out there. Let's get talking about it, because I think that's a big fight coming up in the horizon. Me versus the winner of that Cody TJ fight, and I think that can do amazing things, and it'll be fun to watch.
Hard to disagree with that. Thank you, Dom. I appreciate it.